All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the morning show. I am live. I am JC Parets. I am here in beautiful Avalon, New Jersey. It is, I really like it down here. We got Steve Strazza in the house, live from Key West, Florida, our in-house Florida man, being joined today by another Florida man, Kunal Desai. Kunal from Bulls on Wall Street. Kunal lives and breathes trading. I can't wait to pick his brain about the flaws of humans and how hard it is to overcome our own psychology and our own lizard brains to make money in the market. So very excited for Kunal. We got Izzy on the ones and twos. We got Alfonso, Mr. Chart Master Flex here in the house. This is the morning show. Give us a like, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell, do all that stuff. It really helps. So Izzy, hit it. Ooh, so they did not close down the Strait of Hormuz?
I guess they did not. No, futures wouldn't be green.
I was gonna say I was talking to my mother-in-law and my father yesterday about the Strait of Hormuz. Neither one of them knew what it was. Is this not like this isn't like a normie thing? I guess this is just like a stock market people thing. Know about the Strait of Hormuz?
Global supply chain. Yeah,
I mean, I guess
I don't know
that
much
was
about it.
because both my mother-in-law and my father are very educated, like well versed in the world, and I was kind of surprised that neither one of them had ever heard of the Strait of Hormuz.
I don't know. I don't think it's something like people really talk much about.
No, I know. I guess that's my bad. I mean, I remember it vividly because I've traded, oil crises in the past, and the Strait of Hormuz is right up in there. So I guess
Yeah,
maybe that's why I just assumed that everybody, normies are familiar. I guess not.
I, I think if you look at the tape from Friday, it was really clear. It wasn't the price action wasn't defensive. It was just all focused around energy. I don't think the market was pricing in any sort of like World War III disaster like event. It was just a down day for stocks. What the market was pricing in is some sort of major supply shock for crude oil. But you didn't have like a defensive bit. Bonds were down, yen was down. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't some
Is
sort of like
bonds defensive these days? They don't
whatever.
seem to be proving that.
Staples, anything defensive you looked at wasn't the trade on Friday, is my point. So it wasn't some sort of like
Yeah.
big war tape. It was a crude oil energy tape more than
Big
anything.
war tape. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not a big war tape.
I don't think so. Yeah, a lot of color.
Did you do
No
any
birdies.
golfing?
Nope,
You do any
no
golfing this
birdies.
weekend?
Yeah, with zero birdies, zero birdies. Maybe my last round at the Key West Golf Club. I'll be sad to go.
Zero birdies.
Zero birdies. Yeah, sorry. They just punched and sanded the greens, so really not my fault. Really, I think there should be a rule. There should be a two putt max if they sand the greens. No.
Well, then I wouldn't be called three putt Parets, which is what they call me. I can get it like 10
Good.
feet within the hole, on a par three on the drive and then
Yeah.
three putt. I mean, that is just so classic of me. Not that like I get on the green on all the par threes. Rarely do I, right? But let's say hypothetically
Sure.
I would still three putt.
Wouldn't matter. Yeah. No, I get it. I've been there. They say drive for show, putt for dough.
All right, we're gonna get into the state of the markets, but just a fun fact: I got a shipment over the weekend, Mr. Steve Strazza. The Chateau Fibonacci 22s, 23s, and 24s are in the
Wow.
kitchen. I didn't want to
Really?
open them up because I was a little dehydrated yesterday, so I didn't want to. I only have so
Wow.
much, so I'm gonna make some steaks tonight, cut it up. I'm gonna share with the family, see what they think. So very, very excited for that.
Have you tried these yet?
I have
You tried
tried the 21s,
21,
obviously. The
22.
22s I've tried. The 23s I've tried. I haven't tried the 24s because we just harvested
Right.
them, 8 months ago or so. So this is the first time I try the 24s, but they're going to be nowhere near ready. The 22s, remember, it was really, really hot in 22 in August and early September. So it
Yeah, I do.
fried. you know, a lot of that fruit in Napa Valley. So, like, for example, in 2021, we had 4.6 tons. And in that same acre and a quarter in 22, we had 2.8 tons, just to show you the difference. So very excited. All right, state of the markets. Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Dow futures up 0.2% today. That is approximately 260 points. 42,800 we're pushing here on the Dow. S&P 500 futures also up 0.2%. That's 40 handles, 60.70. 6,070 for the S&P 500. NASDAQ 100 futures leading the way today, back above 22,000 for the NASDAQ. Up 180 points. That's 80 basis points to the upside. 30-year bond futures are flat at 113. Crude oil down 2% at 71.5. Copper flat at 482. Gold down 0.5%, 34.34. Silver up 1/3% at 36.5. With the VIX back under 20. VIX back under 20 this morning, coming off quite a bit. Over in funny money land, of course, we got Bitcoin making moves up 1,000 points to the upside. Shout out Bitcoin up 1,000 points. That puts Bitcoin at 106,700. 106,700 for the old BTC. We got Ethereum 2,600 and change, up 2.5% on the day, 65 points to the upside for the ETH. We got the old Solana 155 up 1.5% today. Total crypto market cap, Mr. Spencer Israel, if you're out there listening, total crypto market cap 3.3 trillion. Mr. Steve Strazza, what stands out from this morning's futures?
Nothing. They're running these hot stocks in the pre-market again. There's really no news. One interesting note from UBS stands out, and the Nippon Steel, U.S. Steel deal was approved. I just really like this. I look at this chart in U.S. Steel, and I think something might happen in this deal so that this stock could keep running up the right-hand side of what is just a truly magnificent-looking base. So I'm hoping for that, selfishly, because this chart's too good to take away when I look at U.S. Steel. That's how I feel about that.
So they were being acquired by a Japanese company, which some would argue that a company called U.S. Steel should probably not be owned by an Asian company, even though it's Japan, which is kind of like, you know, we handle their military. They don't have a military. It's us. So if they were to try to screw us over, they're really screwed. So is Japan owning U.S. Steel really that bad?
It's Asia owning U.S. Steel more than anything, I think. I think there's a worry that no matter who you do business with out there, there's a worry about China.
And then what about Anheuser-Busch being European? That's not a problem?
I'm talking about Asia. Nobody even thinks about
Europeans owning the good old American beer.
No one thinks about Europe. No one even thinks about Europe.
U.S. steel manufacturer, different situation?
From
is it the steel versus the beer, or is it the Asia versus the Europe?
Well, geopolitics and global economics, Europe is simply an afterthought in all of this. It's been that way for a long time. Now, I don't think we would care at all if it went to Europe, but it wouldn't. Can I read you a UBS note? Because I think it's good. I think this is a really good, poignant sell-side note. U.S. markets are overreacting to Middle East tensions. UBS says the markets often overreact to geopolitical events, and the current Middle East crisis is no exception. Unlike past oil shocks, this conflict actually poses little threat to supply. Iran is making up just 1.6% of global output, and no disruptions have been reported. UBS advises buying market dips, expecting only a mild pullback. It remains bullish on global equities, defense, and gold. Oh, there you have it. Forecasting gold to reach 3,500 by the end of 2025. Bottom line, UBS sees fears as overblown and expects markets to stay supported by policy, wages, and AI-driven growth. If you're betting on markets to stay supported by AI-driven growth, why are you writing home about some massive gold price target? Why aren't you pounding the table and telling people to buy stocks? That'd be my only problem with that. I'm sure maybe they are, but UBS, shout out UBS. Well,
I almost worked at UBS.
Me too.
because I couldn't find a job when I graduated from college. So I almost worked in
Yeah.
the operations department at UBS in Weehawken, New Jersey. You know those blue buildings with the glass right by the Lincoln Tunnel.
Mhm.
I almost worked there. Thank God I did not. Boy, would that have sucked. Wow.
A lot of people worked there when I was coming up in Stamford. That was a popular place to be. That huge office, RBS too. Knew a bunch of folks from over there.
Well, that
Uh,
was a different story because that was a big trading floor. So that was probably a good gig, not operations in Weehawken.
I almost went to work there at the big trading floor office. It was cool. And when they interview you, they bring you into the office and they do this whole thing where they walk you right through the trading floor to your interview and show you all around it. Smart. It's like how um Fairfield U tells people to like take the long way to get to their school so they don't drive through Bridgeport, they drive through nice Fairfield, right? Like they were doing that. Like
You know, I
walk.
love that Sacred Heart tells people they're in Fairfield, Connecticut when they're really in Bridgeport. That's nice touch there, Sacred Heart. I see you,
They
dog. I see
they
you,
do that.
dog.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh. It's pretty
Yeah,
good because
yeah,
it's
that's great.
bullshit. That's Bridgeport.
Yeah, that's totally Bridgeport. The Sacred Heart girls love the Fairfield guys, so we appreciate you, Sacred Heart, not scaring away the pretty girls and telling them that it's Bridgeport because that would scare them away, right?
Oh,
Would it
it's great.
not?
All right, so the biggest headline, most attention-grabbing headline of the day. Just look at this. I mean, what a time to be alive. Truth Social files for Truth Social Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. What the fuck? Really?
Are they not allowed to launch ETFs?
I don't know, man. Isn't the DJT a good enough meme coin? Definitely gonna have more juice there.
Yeah, but the DJT is not an ETF,
Mm. It's not. It's
and it's
just a
not a meme
vehicle.
coin. It's a meme stock. Get the nomenclature correct.
Is it even a business at all? I wonder.
It's a pretty shitty one though. I think technically it's a business. It's not a very good one, but just goes to show you that we're not trading businesses; we're trading stocks. Isn't this a great example?
It will be titled "Birdie from Birdies to Bogues, from Birds to Bogues." Raheem. Yeah. So what else
Oh,
stands out? JC Solana was up big last night. I got excited. I woke up in the middle of the night. I said, "Ooh, Solana, nice move."
are you one of those that checks the futures in the middle of the night when you
Yes.
go take a leak?
Yes. And
You're one of
sometimes I
those. Yeah,
will
I kind
be
of
up.
am sometimes too. I try not to.
Sometimes it turns into a thing sometimes, and I'll be up for hours, and then I'm
That's
going
why
back to
I
bed at
don't.
like
That's why, because I
4:30.
want to. I'm just curious. It's not like I'm going to do anything. I'm just curious. And then sometimes I'm like, if I start going down that rabbit hole, I'm never going to go back to sleep. I want to keep the dream that I was, right?
Oh yeah, you ruin it at that
You
point.
ruin
So
the
I'm really
dream because
thinking
your mind
about.
starts wandering.
So I'm really thinking about these temperature controlled beds. I need you to set yours up and try it and see if this is some sort of sham or if it's
I
real
have a
because it
guy.
just
I have a guy who builds stuff for us. He has a mullet,
yeah.
and he's the man.
He's got a mullet. He knows what he's doing. But they say, JC, so this will, I think it heats up to put you to sleep. It heats up, right, at the moment you're falling asleep. And then once you're asleep, it tracks once you're in REM cycles or whatever, and it gets nice and cool, keeps you
Yeah.
nice and cool at the right times. And apparently you get better
Yeah. You
sleep.
can also separate the male and the female on the different side.
I wonder,
So like my wife gets,
yeah,
right? Like I get hot, she gets cold. You know what it is?
yeah.
That's it's.
And
This is a
some of them,
battle. This is a battle that husbands have been fighting with
oh
for
yeah,
generations.
it's no good. Yeah. And some of them have the little head thing that scoops up. I'm a big movies in bed guy, so I need something like that. You know. Yeah.
I got a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about human stupidity because I think it's important to be aware of just how many people are so stupid out there, and not like to be like, oh, funny, ha ha, because I'm so smart. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not making fun of anybody. It's just reality that there are. We as a society just underestimate how many stupid people are out there. I think we put humanity up on a pedestal and we just
Yeah.
assume that people are smart and aware
They're not.
when they're not.
They're usually not.
They're usually not. They're very stupid. I have a great fun fact. This one comes from the homie Morgan Housel,
Oh yeah.
author of a one Psychology of Money, must read Psychology of Money by my boy Morgan Housel. 2023, Americans spent more than $113 billion on lottery tickets.
Huh.
2023, Americans
Yeah.
spent more than $113 billion on lottery tickets. That's more than they spent on movies, books, concerts, and sports tickets combined.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, guys, you might not like it that there are so many stupid people. Odds are you might be one of those stupid people, right? What's important as traders and investors of all time horizons is to recognize that, yes, in fact, there are so many stupid people out there. And it would be irresponsible of us as traders, as investors, as fathers, as leaders of a household, not to try to take their money for our own selfish desires. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to take advantage of selfish people, of stupid people for our own selfish reasons. You know, we just came off a period, back-to-back years in the S&P 500, historic returns. The Nasdaq doubled in 2 years.
Yeah.
Doubled in 2 years. Going into 2023, right before the Nasdaq doubled, Wall Street sell-side analysts were at a consensus that the S&P 500 was going to fall in 2023. Consensus. That hadn't happened this entire millennium. So for the first time this millennium, Wall Street told your parents, right, or your parents' financial advisors next to the Payless down by the mall, that
Yeah.
the stock market was going to fall. As it turns out, not only did the stock market not fall, the Nasdaq doubled over the next 2 years. S&P's put up 24% return in 2023, a 23% return in 2024. And I don't know if you heard, but stocks are flying once again this year. And the dumb humans, or stupid humans, to be consistent here, the stupid humans, they actually think the stock market is falling. Isn't that amazing?
They think the market's falling? Who thinks the market's falling?
Talk to normies. Go talk to normies. They think the stock market's been going down.
Hey.
You live like in this bubble,
No,
like
I don't.
in this like
No.
golf
Because I
course
help a lot of
community.
people with
No, you
their
live in this like
investments. No,
golf course
you're
community
wrong.
in Key West, and you're from
No,
Connecticut. You live like in
you
the
do.
Strazza bubble. Go talk to people.
No, you do. I help a handful of local people with their investments and have been for a year. I've also been helping them with their taxes every year. I'm talking to normal people who work at hotels and restaurants and are teachers or work for the government here all the time. I think I'm actually pretty good on that. I got the data. Talk to my golf friends. I think they know the market's going up, JC.
Just a couple of things, a couple of just basic, basic laws of human stupidity, from Carlo Cipola's 1976 book. It's a really good book. I really enjoyed it. One of the things that everyone always and inevitably underestimates is just the sheer number of stupid people in circulation. One of the studies that I found really interesting is that, the probability that a person is stupid is completely independent of any other characteristic of that person. So, in other words, it has nothing to do with race or gender or nationality or their levels of education or income. It really doesn't matter at all. I thought that was really interesting. A stupid person, just by definition, causes losses to other people, or groups of people, when he or she does not even benefit from that, may even suffer losses themselves. And just at the end of the day, for us as traders and investors, it's important to remember that non-stupid people, which I would consider you and me non-stupid people. I could be wrong, but regardless of us, non-stupid people always underestimate the destructive power of stupid individuals. So I think it's really important to recognize stupid people and try our best to avoid interactions with them.
Everybody's, has their own kind of relationship with the market and their investments. And we're all different. Not most people aren't freaks like us out here staring at our screens all day long, waking up in the middle of the night, check Solana.
Is this should we change the show to the morning freak off? Morning freak off. Morning freak off with Strazza and JC. People are gonna get the wrong idea.
I was actually watching some of that. I was really bored this weekend. It's just crazy town.
I know.
Crazy town.
I know. Next time I hear the song, it's like, tell your friends to get with my friends and we could be friends.
Dude,
Shit, we
dude.
could do this every weekend.
A lot of
He
those
actually,
songs.
he actually did. He actually did that. So, feels weird listening to that. Can we throw up the UFO chart? I have
Yes.
been
So
pounding the table.
good.
I've been
Yeah.
pounding the table, like pounding the table for years now that the world needs more bubble charts.
This is great.
The world needs more bubble charts. This is an excellent bubble chart.
Oh, it's
At
cute.
the end of the day, these are UFO stocks, or like space stocks and like space exploration stocks. And it looks like space, kind of, right? There's even like an actual UFO with an alien in it. Who gets the credit for this chart? This wasn't you. You're not that creative.
No, I this is my format though from back in the day. I
Shout out to
invented this
Sam.
format.
Shout
Yeah.
out, Sam.
You got to take it into paint. These take a while.
Somebody asked me, Strazza, you'll appreciate this. Somebody asked me the other day, it's like, oh, where's Sam from? I'm like, oh, he lives in Kansas. And they're like, oh, what city? I was like, they have cities in Kansas? Do they have
Yeah.
cities in Kansas?
Wichita.
I don't know.
Wichita. Kansas City is in both Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah.
St. Louis, no.
So talk to me about what's happening here.
I don't know. I didn't make the chart. ASTS is a goddamn monster. Up another 4% today. Making
Dude,
a shitload of
1,000.
money.
Can we give
I mean,
Strazza his flowers? Strazza gets his flowers.
I don't want your
1,000%
flowers.
return on the ASTS. Good for you, Steve.
Well, it took
Well done,
three.
sir.
It took 3 tries. I think we bought these calls 3 times. We always sold the double, but we never got the win we were looking for because we never got the resolution. So you just keep going back and buying them. That's the nice thing about selling the double. You never sit there like, oh, I lost so much money on this. No, we didn't lose any money. We just didn't make the kind of money we thought we should when this pattern finally went. So just keep buying it, keep buying it, keep buying it, buying it. Every month. I've been doing that for like 4 months now. So there you go. That's how you get 10Xs. Sometimes you got to work for them, JC. We worked for this one.
Sometimes you gotta work for it. So
Sometimes
this
it's
wasn't
easy.
just luck. This wasn't dumb luck, Steve.
Wasn't. I don't think so. We had to keep going back to it.
How many times? 3 times or 4?
Fonz, check the notes and give me the accurate number. It's been 3 or 4 times, man. Since late last year, probably. Because it's been the same pattern. And then we had that false go. You saw that like ramp up right in the middle of that consolidation. Like it tried, we got all excited, failed, back in the box, back to the lower bounds. Like really had to be patient. This time, I think it's going. There's been a relentless bid for the stock for, I don't know, past 5-10 sessions now. 6 times. 6 times. I have to write about that because that's real. That's how it works in the real world.
Wow, 6 times.
6 times. How many times do we sell a double out of those 6 times? 4 out of 6. There you go.
It's funny. I talked to I've talked to a lot of the greatest traders of all time over the years. I've studied a lot of the greatest traders of all time, and this question comes up again and again and again. And when I meet them, I ask them, it's like, well, when you get stopped out and the stock gets back in the zone, you get back in, right? Yes. Okay, well, what if you get stopped out again? You get back in for the 3rd time? The answer is yes. It's like, all right, well, what if you get stopped out again? Do you get in for the 4th time? Right? And those are the questions that I ask. Like, how many times is too many times? At what point is the market just telling you, just move on, bro? Just move on. The market gods are telling you that it's not for you. Just move on. I think that the number varies depending on who you ask, but it's somewhere between 3 and 4, probably closer to 4 times is the answer. So you went with 6, but it's not a clean 6 because it doubled a couple of times too.
Well, yeah, but those are losing trades in my mind. This is something that is a little bit
Also, stocks
unusual.
doubling, position doubling is a losing trade.
Yes, it's a neutral trade. So this is something that's a little bit unique to me and my style. My number's a lot higher than most people. And I think it comes down to your psychological relationship with your trading, right? Like if it gets to you and it hurts you that you're not making it on these trades and that starts to wear on you, you got to stop, right? You got to walk away. But if you could just treat it as like, I don't give a shit. I'm doubling, I'm going to 0, I'm doubling, I'm going to 0. The pounder didn't go yet. I'm going to keep trying. I don't think twice about it. These stocks don't hurt my feelings when they don't do what I'm anticipating them to do. I don't go to bed thinking about how ASTS hurt me. So I'll do 10 times. I don't give a shit. Also, I'm not talking about common stock positions. We're just buying calls, and sometimes they double, and sometimes they go to zero, and then eventually they're out of your account. And it's not like it's a different thing. It's a different game we're playing, I guess. But no, dude, I'll go 10 times. You know that. Way too many. But imagine not being in when that move finally happens. Like, if I'm seeing the chart and it's still set up and it's ready and it looks just as good as it did when I started trying to buy it, I'm not quitting. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
All right, we're moving on. Yesterday's home runs do not win. Yesterday's home runs do not win today's ball games.
There
right? Shout out Babe Ruth. Shout out Babe Ruth from Greenwich, Connecticut. Babe Ruth. No, he's not from Greenwich, Connecticut.
I was like, that's news to me. I was gonna take.
He's like, wait, what? Okay. Wait, what? Where do you think Babe Ruth was from?
The Bronx.
Oh, I know where he was from. He's from Baltimore.
Wichita, Kansas.
No, you can go to his house. You can go to the house where he was born in Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore.
Yeah. His dad owned a bar. His dad was like a bar owner. All right, let's bring on Kenny. We got Kunal in the house as well. Let's bring in Kenny. Speaking of ASTS, a very Kenny stock. Bring him out. Bring him out.
Woo! It's been a long time coming. They ain't come from my club, they tugged it. Putting up numbers, 99 problems, and I still kept it 100. Hola.
Yeah. Ooh, Kenny Glick in the house. Hello, sir.
Good morning. Train don't run out of Wichita, runs out of Stubbville. Anybody know where that movie's from? What movie quote is that? Planes, trains, and automobiles. He's trapped in Wichita trying to get the hell out of there with John Candy. One of the best movies ever made, if you could take it.
All right,
what's up, boys and girls?
I got to go back. Kenny Glick, the way I learned it from a great philosopher many, many moons ago. See what I said? See what I did there? Many moons ago. If you ain't fading, you ain't trading.
Yes.
And so markets are ripping this morning on the lack of the beginning of World War III. So I guess markets flying that World War III has not begun, at least not yet. Are we fading or are we participating?
Actually, I'm in such a chill mode right now. You know, before we even get into the markets and whatnot, happy Father's Day. And it was one of my best ever because we just stayed off the TV. We stayed off every topic that normally comes up and just enjoyed ourselves. And the only thing that reminded us of society was that the Yankees are owned by the Red Sox now. That's the only moment of reality that we got into.
Can we talk about those Savannah Banana uniforms that the Red Sox were rocking this weekend?
What was that about? Whatever uniforms they wear, they'll beat the Yankees right now. So, because I mean, since they came back from that 3-game deficit in the playoffs, the curse was broken. The Red Sox just own the Yankees now. So it's sad to watch in a way. But we had a great time. I hope you had a great time. I know Spence was first Father's Day. Just it's a good time. And and my dad, who is probably more bullish than you, if you can imagine.
Am I bullish? Am I super bullish?
Yeah, so always bullish. He was the first person I ever heard say buy the dip. Market never goes down. Dollar cost averaging works. His dad bought stocks from a traveling salesman who came to the house from Hartford Financial in 1960 and sold them a mutual fund. And my dad was hooked ever since. So he got me involved when I was a kid. And once again, a big market event on a Friday. Everyone's a little bit nervous, but if you watch the market action, nobody was nervous. UVXY had hit highs Thursday night. The market had already bottomed Thursday night. Nobody was nervous. I think everybody's starting to factor it in that we're in a power gap. We're still in the power gap. And the only way we're going to actually have any kind of sell-off that takes root is if we get into the power gap. And we're like a month away. We're a month in now from the May 11th power gap. And there's 2 gaps below that. I mean, there's so many reasons to be bullish that it's impossible to even think. And again, if you want to try to play the fade, I love fading because the fade's for 7 minutes. And that's basically all you get. In 7 minutes in heaven or spin the bottle with the market. Quick little in, out. the fade. That's it. It's an opening trade. But right now, I'm so damn bullish. I'm loving the space stocks. We got paid on the ASTS, broke all-time highs yesterday. On Friday. And again, it was just the shock of that move right out of the open. It was shocking to some, but not to us, because that stock's under accumulation. And if you walk in and there's a discount on a stock that you know is under accumulation, they're probably going to buy it at the open. And oh, damn, they bought it at the open. And, it was a great trade. We actually played the fade on that after it hit into the 40s. So super bullish that stock still. I want to see it, test some of that recent pullback. But there's just nothing to be bearish about. I was looking for something to be bearish. Sean was talking about the home builders. I don't even want to bother. Again, if we're going to fade, it's the first 5 or 6 minutes of the day, and then just go back to being bullish.
All right, what's on the move this morning? What are you trading?
I'm gonna look at Restoration Hardware. Speaking of fading, that was the one fade from Friday that was just epic once it rolled over broke VWAP. So just looking at it again, if it can't get back over the 200, you might be looking at some more sellers there. So I don't normally trade that stock, except the fact that it reported earnings on last week. But I'm loving the soul.
Hold on, let's take on that for one more second.
Yeah.
So the big move, you don't normally trade the stock, right? Made a big move on earnings last week, and then this is kind of the hangover from that. So you're still getting part of that volatility still in there potentially. So that's why it's still on your radar. Is that right?
Yeah, hangovers. Yes, exactly.
Hangovers.
I like looking for a couple of days, like there's a million examples, but OKTA, a couple of weeks ago, the second day was better than the first. Oracle, these last 2 days and the follow through. By the way, Oracle, I just want to give it up to my buddy Solid Jello. He said if it breaks 183.60, the stock's going to 220. And I was like, well, it's a little far-fetched. And next thing you know, this thing just went on a tear.
Just want to give a shout out to a fine gentleman, one Solid Jello.
Yes.
Shout out Solid.
Just absolutely incredible call. And that stock just stayed strong no matter what the market was doing on Friday. Just an epic 2 days on Oracle. But the solar stocks. Take a look at our friend Sedge. We actually broke the 3-year Andy Dufresne downtrend.
Can you show that? Do you have that available to show?
Oh, I don't have it. I don't have it up right now. I had a power outage, so a lot of my screens are down right now. But SEDG is at that inflection point once again. And if this could sustain a rally this week and finally come out of the Andy Dufresne pattern, you might be looking at 7 to 15 more points on the upside on this stock if it could ever get going. And this is a 3-year moment. Just like ASTS, that was a 1-year.
Why do you say this is a 3-year moment?
Because it's tried to break that price for the last 3 years and has pretty much failed.
Which price?
The $23.35 area. So I'll show you. Let me show you my 3 years.
Not 3 years.
Yeah, I think it is 3 years now. Or maybe 2 years.
No.
All right, 2 years.
Here, look, I'll throw up slide 2 there, please. Here's your Sedge.
Oh no, it's actually just 1 year. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Throw up the Sedge there, Izzy, please. There it is.
Yeah, we're coming out. Yeah, to me, no, it is. I have it on my 3-year chart was the one that attracted me to the stock in the first place. But looking at that 3-year, if the stock can get out of this bottom range right here, which it just peaked its head up, but we've hit the same price. So going back to, what is it, last September? It's not even a year. It feels like, I guess it feels longer because the stock's disappointed me so many different times. But just looking at this stock, if you can break out of this range and hold that rate, hold the breakout, you're looking at, at least $31 on it. So I'm interested. I like when stocks make comebacks, obviously.
Give me one more. What's on the move?
Well, the crazy ones were, I was a big fan of shorting these energy stocks, and I'm trying to get a short off on RBNE. Geez Louise, it's just tanking right now. So I put it in my newsletter this morning. RBNE. There was a handful of energy and oil stocks that were up on Friday that had no business doing what they were doing. They're all shorts, and they're all getting crushed right now. So RBNE, you got
a little guy. That's a little tiny penny stock. But
Icon,
definitely plenty of liquidity there, though.
Yeah, HUSA is another one. So that sector, but a lot of them are already getting smoked this morning. So I'm going to keep an eye on those.
All right, Kenny, diving deep down into the penny stocks this morning. Only when they're liquid, though. Only when they're liquid, right? Not randos. So appreciate you, Kenny. Always a pleasure, my friend. If you ain't fading, you ain't trading. Thank you, sir.
All right. Be
YOLO
careful out there,
responsibly.
boys and girls. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kenny Glick, one of the things I love about Kenny, if you could drop the link in the chat to where you can get Kenny's morning note, join Kenny in his chat, in his live video room, so you can get access to what he's trading in real time. What I love about Kenny is that he tends to be almost always counter trend. So while we are trend following in most cases, he is going counter trend. He's also intraday, while we are looking at everything but intraday. So very complimentary to all of the other things that we got going on. So I appreciate that, Kenny. Love the color, love the humor. And we got Kunal Desai here in the house as well. We were just hanging out together down in New Orleans last month. That was a lot of fun. So what do you say, Izzy? Bring him out. Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Kunal.
Yo, what up?
What's up, my man?
Nothing, man. Nothing. Just cruising around France right now.
France, huh? Where in France?
I just left Provence a couple days ago, and I'm in Annecy, Lake Annecy right now for a month or so.
Dude, amazing.
I got to cool off. It's too hot everywhere.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
You know that I'm a French wine scholar. Did you know that?
I do know that.
I am.
You are a sommelier.
I am a certified sommelier, and I assumed incorrectly that if I became a French wine scholar that I can hack the system because all things wine all over the world, the history, the winemaking, everything, all things wine, half of that is France alone. So I figured if I'm a French wine scholar, I hack the system and I'll nail the exam. And then as it turns out, the exam itself for the sommelier is not market cap weighted like that. It's actually equally weighted. So France has about the same amount of questions on France as something like South Africa or New Zealand or Israel. So that was a bummer when I learned that. So I have a lot of useless knowledge about French wine that is completely unnecessary. So that's reality. You're in Provence. Drink the rosé. Obviously, goes without saying.
Oh yeah,
it's what they're known for.
Come out, man. What else you got to do?
Kunal, I've been thinking a lot lately about human stupidity. I've been thinking a lot lately about just the psychology of trading. You, maybe more than anybody else I know, is constantly talking about the mental approach and the mental side of, decision making in the market, the flaws, just a constant battle with the mind that traders have. So, before we get into anything of the market, I would love for you to share with the folks, some of the things that you constantly writing about, that you're preaching about. When we, just for perspective, guys, the first time I ever met Kunal, he started out his presentation saying, "Welcome, everybody. My name is Kunal, and we're going to talk about how trading markets is like a gangbang." And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" I was like, "I like this guy," right? So I would love to hear your thoughts on the psychological aspect of things.
Sure. So, the big thing is, for short-term trading, especially long-term trading, very analytical. You can be very process-oriented, and you have time to really make good decisions and plan things out. In short-term trading, you kind of have to do a lot of that same analysis, but you have seconds to actually make these decisions. And so having really strong mental frameworks and preparation is really the key to all short-term trading. Because in the end, right, patterns are patterns and breakouts are breakouts. There's only two things stocks do, right? You buy stocks on pullbacks or you buy them on breakouts, right? So there's not some epic mad science to short-term trading, but having, a good mental approach to things and a really solid frameworks and risk management systems is really the key to being able to stay in the game. Because with short-term trading, the velocity of how much you're moving your account, for example, say you're a swing trader and you have $100,000. You have 3-4 positions and okay, that money is static while you're in these positions. If you're a day trader, you have $100,000 in your account. You're rotating that $100,000 20, 30, 40 times that day. right? So the velocity of movement is so incredible. And so the small wins really, stack up, but also those small losses blow you up, right? And so you have to have that. And so, the big thing I'm always talking to my people about is, having, proper plans for everything, and then really structuring your day. How you trade in the morning is completely different than how you trade in the midday. And that's completely different than how you would trade at the end of the day. A lot of times when people say like, hey, my pattern is not working, most of the time it's because you might be doing something that is really only relevant to morning trading, right? Like if you were doing a very short pattern, say it was 30 minutes long and you did it midday, most of the time that pattern's going to fail. If you did it at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, right, you have a higher chance of that pattern working because there's more momentum in the markets. And so that's just all part of the short-term trading game. Because in the end, like, dude, all we're doing is drawing squiggly lines half the time.
That's what my college friends tell me. They're like, JC, I don't understand. Squiggly line up, squiggly line down. That's all you do all day. Well, I mean, it's just the market. It's not me drawing those lines. I mean, they're drawing themselves. No, it's just price.
Yeah.
And so can you talk about the psychological aspect of it? You were tweeting out sort of like some of your routine. You don't just show up unprepared for the trading day. You spend time in preparation, right? You don't just show up to the plate and hit dingers. You're working out, you're studying the pitcher that you're going to be facing, or things like that. There's a process involved, like in baseball, like in trading. Can you talk about that process? How do you prepare for a trading day? The day before, the morning of? What do you do?
Sure. So, you should be spending many times more in your preparation than you are actually clicking the buttons, right? Like if you're spending more time clicking buttons than you probably have done. But if you are thinking about day trading, especially if you're using leverage, right? Because leverage really magnifies everything. When you're at 4x leverage, 5x leverage, or if you're trading options, 10x leverage, whatever it might be, every decision is magnified, many, many fold. So your preparation it's got to be incredible to reduce the amount of lag of thinking that you're doing during the market, right? Like, so if you're sitting there like, should I buy this at this price, this thing, you're more likely to just make a crazy decision or a bad decision. Most likely a bad entry or bad position sizing, which is probably even worse than a bad entry. And so a lot of, what I do is, getting ready for the day, but also making sure like your brain's like in a good spot to actually make money. That's like, I work with Phil too. And that's one of the things that, me and Phil have spent the last 2 years doing. Like, dude, how can you ever make good decisions when you don't sleep, when you do this, when you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just how I've always done it. He's like, dude, you're getting old. Like you notice these things are starting to lag off. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And, we would track metrics to everything. So like, I talk to him every couple of days. Hey, how many hours do you sleep? I'm like, 3 hours and some change. How much wine did you drink? And next thing you know, and he goes, okay, and what were your profits? I'm like, fuck, right? Like, there's a correlation to all of these things. And so, he was really instrumental in like getting me on track on like, I always worked out because I've always played sports my whole life, but, like really dialing down like nutrition, sleep, like those things I never really cared about because I'm like, dude, I'll just go to the gym for a couple hours and burn it off. And he's like, dude, it doesn't work like that, at 44.
Dude, shout out Phil Perlman.
He's a genius.
Listen, he's a genius. He's a ball buster. He calls me out on my bullshit too. So you're not alone, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's good. It's good. And, listen, we've all been there. We've all woken up hungover, trying to make money in the market. You're thirsty. You're hungry. Your stomach's not right. Your mind's not right. Like, how can you possibly think that that's not making your life harder?
True. I mean, I'm an Indian person. I've lost minimum 6 figures in my career over having to take poops at the wrong time. You start eating a little curry powder and right first thing in the morning. What are you going to be running to do at the open? Couple cups of coffee, right. Some curry, and whoop, there goes your trades.
That's it. Shout out to India. Love India. Dude, I love India. I really do.
Spot.
Man, is it a good spot. Mumbai is such a good time, dude. if they had a couple of decent steakhouses, it might be my favorite city in the world. So that's like the one bummer, obviously.
You
know,
gotta eat steak on the sly in India, you know.
I mean, you probably don't want to eat it at all, to be honest. What I love about like Indian businessmen, at least my friends, whenever they leave the country, all they want to do is eat at steakhouses every night. Every night. London, Hong Kong, New York. If they're not in India, steakhouse every night.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to. It's like that's for us Indians. It's like you're like, oh my gosh, my mom's not around, right? I can do what I want.
Yeah, I mean it's rough, man. I didn't realize the first time I went to India, I was there for like a week, man, and I didn't prepare. Speaking of not preparing, and I was going through withdrawals. Like my body was shaking, like I would have killed somebody for a cheeseburger, like killed somebody. And so the move is, if you're going to India, you want to eat burgers and steaks like obnoxiously for like a week going into India, where you don't even want to look at red meat. Right? Like that's the move. That's the move.
That's the move.
That's what I started doing.
Yeah, you just got to get in the lamb game, the goat game. That'll get you your fix.
Listen, the fish is great. The shrimp and the prawns and all that stuff is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. There is amazing food in Mumbai. It's just not red meat. It's not steak. It's all good. So, you talk about Phil, but I know for a fact that you have other, over the years, you've had other coaches and mentors and, you are a person that, I mean, I don't know many people who talk about this as much as you do, about those coaches and mentors. And, Tiger Woods has coaches, and, the best baseball players and football players, Tom Brady had coaches, and, the best of the best have help and coaches. And I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough, but you do talk about that. So can you, elaborate a little bit more, in addition to Phil Perlman, from a more psychological and health standpoint?
Yeah.
What about more trading, specifically investing? Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah. So I've had, 4 big mentors in my life. Early on in 2006, Paul Singh, who works for me now, he's a swing trader. He was like my first guy that really taught me like the nuts and bolts of trading. Now, the thing is, once you know the nuts
he
and
taught
bolts
you
of
trading, and now he works for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
I came back to him like 8 years later. I'm like, dude, I launched this business. It's getting huge. Like, I'd love to bring you on aboard. And so he taught me the nuts and bolts of trading. The thing is, once you know the nuts and bolts of trading, okay, what's the next level, right? Like, what really prevents like a good trader that just knows his stuff versus like somebody that's like really elite, right? And that's like the mental side of things. And so I hired a guy named Ben Newman, and Ben Newman works only with athletes. And so like he works with like University of Alabama, Kansas State football teams, Will Compton, the kickboxer guy, Tyson Woodley. And so I hit him up. I saw him on Instagram like way back in the day. And I said, hey, I see you're working with these athletes. I want you to train me. And he's like, no. He's like, I work with athletes. He's like, he tossed me off to some old lady. He's like, yeah, she's like, works with like, she works with like these business guys. And I'm like, this is a 60-year-old lady. Like, not that there's anything wrong with him, Mary, if you're listening, but that's not, I want you. And he's like, this is not really what I do. And I said, look, trading is like, I'm just like a mental athlete. Like, I'm Indian.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be playing sports, but I'm like a human calculator. I got to get this thing going. And I was just explaining to him the process of like decision-making when you're super stressed out. And so it's like, think about like, okay, you're putting $1 million on the line on a stock, and then you're throwing some leverage on it in 2 seconds, and you're stressed out and your heart's pumping and the market's moving and there's all this stuff happening. Well, that's like, that's a performance game, not necessarily like, hey, I have a flat top breakout pattern to all-time highs. That's a like, oh crap, I'm about to go, knee deep onto this thing. I got to make the right decision at the right time. And so I worked with him, and, he would put me through the mental frameworks and things like that he would do with athletes, and same type of thing. He was more of a rah-rah guy too. So I usually switch back and forth from like the rah-rah, like he's like your typical, now you see everybody like that, like the 45-year-old bald guy that's on roids. It's like, oh, fucking wake up and crush you, right? Like he's one of those, but he was the original, that guy. And they're all 45, they're all bald, and they're all super jacked on TRT. And he was the original of that guy. And so it was pretty cool. So I worked with him for years, and he really, he raised my game up on the performance side a lot. And then I weaned off him, and I needed more of like the skinny Jewish, like fuck you guy. And I went with Phil, which is like to round out things.
And why do you think that so many traders are afraid to go seek help? Are they just being cheap? Are they unaware of the benefits? And why are you so aggressive to spend money getting additional help and everything like that? What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, all great performance players have coaches, right? Like Michael Jordan had Tim Grover, right? Kobe Bryant had many coaches, actually. It was a freaking staff of them. Phil Mickelson had, I believe, like 9 different coaches that he was using all at once for different things. And so elite performers have coaches. And also trading is more of a singular game. It's not a team sport, right? It's more like a tennis or thing or a golf thing where you're in your own head versus like, hey, I'm on a football team with 50 people or a baseball team. And so it can be also lonely. That's why I travel so much, just to get like out of my room, right? Like, it's like if you're day trading and it's dark and you're in the middle of Michigan in the wintertime where it's dark at 4 a.m. and it's dark at 4 p.m., like, dude, your brain has to be just like so damn sharp, right? And so I think people are just don't associate like coaching with performance necessarily. They associate coaching with like, I'm screwing up and I need help, right? Like, it's like, because in a lot of ways they are like therapists, like, in the end, like that they're getting into your brain. And so maybe there's like a connotation too of like, maybe you're talking to a therapist, but it's not really. Like, you're learning things that you just don't have access to. Like me, like I've only done this my whole life. So I don't have access to trading that like an athlete would go into, or I don't have access to training like what Phil knows. Like he's worked at hedge funds. He's worked at stock twits. He's been managing banks. Like he's done all of this stuff, right? All of those things I have no experience in. Like, me and him, we talk not just about my trading, but like how I structure my business and how I do this. There are just things that I don't know, right? And so paying for those answers is frankly a lot easier than trying it out myself, failing, and then burning 7 figures and trying to, get back on the horse and do it. And frankly, like, you can read all the books you want, but it just doesn't help you the same way.
Yeah, you could read books about doing push-ups, or you could just do push-ups, right? You could read books about running, or you could just go for a run. Is there an element of you've had coaches before, you've had mentors before, you've seen the benefits, and therefore you're constantly seeking for more help to receive more benefits? Like, is there an element of like you're already winning, so you want to keep winning?
Yeah, I mean, I want to always keep stepping it up because, especially in trading, like if you're not growing, dude, somebody's out to get you, right? Like you're trading against other market participants. They're getting smarter every year with AI, with so much access to information. I mean, people are just smart. You see these young kids now, like you had that kid, the tall kid with the crazy hair. Dude, the kid's a genius. He's like half my age,
with the crazy hair.
Like, Jetsons.
Oh, Riley.
Yeah, like, so people are getting smart. There are people out there that are learning at crazy amount of speed and they know their stuff. Dude, you got to get better every year.
Speaking of which, I appreciate you coming down to New Orleans last month. It was great having you there. That was a lot of fun. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did. And, I got some good damn ideas too. And so like the whole trip paid for itself, like within the first week. I got 2 ideas from you guys that I thought were monsters. One was the OUST. I think, during when you guys were doing the thing, it was at about $10. And I waited for a little bit before I bought it. I think my average was like around 11. That one and the TMC, like I took both of those home right after, I had talked to all your boys. Boy, they know their stuff, because I'm a technical guy. And so like, having conviction to hold for more than a few days, minus like, hey, I'm just trading the trends and writing up moving averages kind of stuff. That's all the conviction I can have because I just don't know the stories. Like going through like and sitting with you guys and like people doing presentations where they have the technicals. So I'm like, oh, that's actually worth buying. Like it actually has the price that action I would look for. But then like somebody like just giving me this whole background of like, what the heck is going on this? I've never tried that type of trading, but like the two ideas I took from you, the TMC and the OUST, I mean, they've been paying the bills, and just knowing stuff beyond it is like, I thought was, and everybody got really good idea, probably between a lot of conferences and what I saw in yours. So most conferences, you go there and it's like 20 minutes of people giving their life story. Hey, I've been a trader since 2004. I am the inventor of bullshitcharts.com. And I am a CPA, FINRA member, registration, double FX. And you're like, sweet. And then they bust out the slides. When I was ripping up Brian Shannon one day, when I saw him like 8 years ago at the San Diego thing, I'm like, Brian, I've seen this slide deck so many fucking times, right, on the webinar. And he's like, yeah, man, I didn't use this one before, right? So like yours, it was awesome because first of all, nobody needed to do the presentation of like, this is who I am, because it's all in your circle. And
yeah, because who gives a shit?
It was... Yeah, and it was just all ideas. And I thought that was awesome. Like, even like Steve Place, who's like kind of a curmudgeon about this kind of stuff, like, because he's like super smart. So like he doesn't trust anything, right? When you're like that smart, it's like, you're like, everything is kind of bullshit. He was like, damn, I got some good ideas out of that one.
Nice. Shout out Steve Place. And listen, if this is something you're interested in, this isn't like a conference that we put on. As Kunal was saying, it's a roundtable discussion is really what it is. We have different topics throughout 2 days. It's always a fun place. We're going to be in Toronto coming up in September. The Fonz just dropped the link there in the chat. Click on that if this is something that you are interested in. You can apply and see if this is and see if you would be a good fit. But Kunal, definitely appreciate you being there. That was a lot of fun. And by the way, New Orleans, I hadn't been to New Orleans in about 10 years. What a great town, huh?
That's like, that's a top 5 place to do like a little conference, like, for 3-4 days. Like it's the perfect amount of time. And it's like, it's a compact city. You can get around easily. So like, you kind of know, even if you lose track of everybody, there's only like 5 places they can be. And so everybody kind of stays together. When you go to Vegas, like, people start sneaking off doing God knows what. And like, you lose everybody.
Dude, you're not wrong. Dude, you're so not wrong. I remember, couple of decades ago being in Vegas, and we lost one of our buddies, and we were just kind of worried about him because this was like before like iPhones and stuff like that, and we were a little bit worried about our buddy. And next thing we know, we see him walking down Las Vegas Boulevard in his wife beater and his shirt over, just kind of just walking down the street like, there he is. That don't happen in New Orleans. Like everything's within like a block or two, right?
Yeah, you can't get lost.
It's a beautiful thing. Listen, before we let you hop, let's talk about the current markets. How have you, or are you adapting your strategy and your approach at all, both in practice or mentally, to the current market versus maybe other types of market environments? How do you think about that?
So, I mean, this is, first of all, this is like a major bull market. So the adaptation is more like try not to screw up. Because, like, I mean, no matter what anybody thinks of the market right now, we're in it's a jam bam bull market. All things are working. Large caps, spec names, small caps, different themes. A lot of times the market could be hot, but you have like 1 or 2 themes. Dude, you're seeing things ripping across the board, right? With nuclear, even solar's picking up. And so the big thing is like, this is just a trend-to-trend momentum market, right? And so you're just doing your classic William O'Neill style, like trend trades, and you try not to screw those up and you ride it as long as you can. The big thing is like not to like listen to too much of the narrative of the market. Everybody is searching for the reason of why the market's going up right now. And I actually don't know either. Is it AI? Is it this? Who fucking knows? Right. But like everything that's been shot at the market, the deficits are raising the interest rates. Okay. Then nobody cares about the interest rates anymore. Right. This thing. Trump's doing deals. Right? No, there's been no deals, right? Then hey, there's a war here, there's a war here. I mean, it's just every 2 weeks we get hit with something. Market drifts down for about half a day, but pretty orderly for the most part, and it gets scooped up. And so that is the key to everything. When dips get bought aggressively and the next day the market's back up, then that's like, hey, stay out of the market's way and just dude, ride it till the wheels fall off. And one day you may get stopped out of freaking 5-6 positions, but so what? You had like an awesome run on it, and you don't want to screw it up because you only get like 2-3 months at a time, maybe in a given year of this, where like you have all these things working, right? Dude, you see like stocks, right? Like companies that maybe even have no revenues, like Aklo and stuff, right? Just like ripping, right? Like quantum's going, nuclear's going, right? Space, electric taxis are going. So at that point, when you see all that, you just stay out of the way. Take good patterns, ride the trends, and try not to sell too early. Like, give it a little bit of leash here because that's where the money's going to be.
Kunal, you nailed that. What you just said right there, folks. Did you hear what he just said? Let your winners go. Like, it's impossible. It's literally mathematically impossible to have huge winners if you don't let them become huge. Like, you have to let your winners run. Otherwise, you're not going to have huge winners. We're talking about Steve Strazza with 1,000% return on that ASTS trade. He let that happen. You have to be patient. There's a time and a place for everything. And I agree with Kunal. This is the type of environment where you want to be greedy. At least me. I have come to the conclusion that I want to be greedy. I want to let my winners run. In other environments where I might be taking profits sooner, I have huge winners right now, and there's an disproportionate amount of position sizing because some of my winners are up so much, and I'm letting them go. In other environments, I wouldn't do that. And for better or worse, in this environment, I'm letting these winners go. Sounds to me like you're in that camp too.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a day where you get stopped out of a bunch of stuff, but it ain't this day.
Love it. Kunal Desai, Bulls on Wall Street, everybody. All the information is on the show notes. Give Kunal a follow, please. Kunal, I hope you can join us in Toronto in September. That would be fantastic. We'll get into some trouble, make some bad decisions up in Canada, eh?
Hey, let's do it.
All right, my man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Take care, brother.
Kunal from France. We come from France. Kunal Desai. Listen, few people I know are constantly talking about, seeking help, trying to get an edge with people that can help you be physically better, mentally better, the approach to trading. It all comes down to the psychology is what I've learned, and getting additional help there. Good for him. I feel like a lot of people are scared to go out and ask for help. I've been the opposite, maybe not to the degree that Kunal has been, but I've definitely sought help over the years, and I can tell you for a fact it's been very beneficial. I had pitching coaches, back in the day. I focus a lot on the psychology of things, as my career has progressed. I think it's really, really important. Strazza is somebody, great example. Strazza is somebody who needs a golf coach, just needs one. He talks a lot about the game. It's quite obvious that you need help, sir. Don't be afraid, Strazza. Don't be afraid. You're on mute.
Or my very own golf simulator.
Dude, I was at a friend of mine's office the other day, and he's got that golf simulator in his office. And I'm like, Strazza, dude, you got to see this.
Me and the boys were talking about it yesterday. They had some ideas.
Did you show them the pictures? Did I say?
Yeah, I did. We talked about it. I'm gonna go to one of the tour stores once I get up there and see what my options are. Because there's a wide range of these simulators. Some are really nice. You can get some cheap ones too.
All right, Steve Strazza, I appreciate you being here, my man. 1,000% return on the ASTS. That was fantastic. Great guest today. Kenny Glick in the house. Kunal in the house. We got Jason Purse. Shout out Jason Purse. Here to talk about World War III. No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. I got to hop. Love you guys.
Later. What's up, Jason?
What's up, man? How are you?
So I figure, there's nobody on the team who will probably have thoughts worth hearing about the war stuff and the supply shock for oil or potential supply shock and what these geopolitical headlines really mean for our markets than Jason Purse. So I'm glad you're joining us today. Let's just talk about it. So
I'm
Friday.
on a special edition of Gold Rush Live this week, so hopefully I got a guy coming on to talk more about that a little bit more, just to talk about the implication for commodities. So we'll see how that goes. I'll announce it once he confirms.
And I think we learned, like the last time around with Russia, Ukraine, it was all about commodities, not just oil. A bunch of different commodities markets were very affected. And if you were paying attention, kind of understood the supply and demand dynamic, supply and demand dynamics of those markets, you were really ahead of the crowd. So I imagine the same thing is taking place right now. Hearing a lot of people liking gold still, hearing that this is really maybe a lot less material than first thought. The 1.6% of global output of oil, is that right? That's really not a lot.
Yeah, I don't look. Once again, it's just like price action. It's just what does the world perceive? If the world thinks that this is the beginning of a World War III situation, oil will go up. If it feels like this is a situation that's going to de-escalate pretty quickly, oil will go down. I mean, even today we're seeing oil pull back a little bit just on the fact that, hey, they might talk about something, but still really the tensions are high, and I don't think this is a situation that's going to die down very quickly. Iran could be in a regime change coming up soon. There's a bunch of things that could possibly happen here that a lot of people just aren't going to pay attention to yet. So for me, it's more of a like, hey, look at the price action. That's where we always start. Look at the price action. Okay, oil made a false breakdown signal. That signal followed through like crazy. I'm just going to continue to think that that's going to continue until that trend changes. And so looking at it that way, I think that's important. But like you said, if you go back to 2022, that was a situation that just oil, all the commodities just exploded basically on that war situation. But also if you go back to, was it 2019? It was right before 2020 and the shutdown and everything happened. I forget the exact event, but something happened in Saudi Arabia. Oil was in a very tight consolidation for all of 2019. It finally broke out of the range on that huge news out of Saudi Arabia, and then it just broke out and came all the way back down and ended up going to negative 50 after that false breakdown signal. Or false breakout signal. Now we got a false breakdown signal. We have some news. I'm not the biggest fan of news-related breakouts, but the fact that it broke out of a false breakdown before the news, I think this thing still has legs. I
like that happened. I like it more, a lot more with that, right?
You like it? Yeah. For me, it's double-sided. I really enjoy the breakouts when nothing is going on. When nothing's going on and nobody can explain it. Most of the time, those are very sustainable. Sometimes
like a clean break.
Yes. Sometimes the news ones can just be, hey, all this news happened, and then you get smacked.
Give back.
Yeah. But once again, I think that the fundamentals still make sense. I think the technicals still make sense. I think everything makes sense for oil to be a little bit higher here. I think 60 was a little low, even for the producers, even what's going on with OPEC. Basically, why oil even broke down even was because of false news that came out about OPEC. Everybody was like, okay, OPEC's going to start to flood the market with oil, which is bullshit, honestly. And so they kindly came out and said that wasn't true. And so, next thing you know, oil's kind of bottoming out. Then it moves higher on this news. So I think there's a lot of reasons to say oil can move higher here.
And what else is affected? What else is impacted by this? Are there other markets that we should be paying attention to, or this is really just a crude oil situation?
I think it's all the commodities, because if you look across the entire board, if you look at something like palladium, look at platinum, think of 2022. You go back to the 2022 period, you'll see that all of these kind of just made this huge jump around that period of time. I think it can be very similar, especially because look at the players in this one. I mean, this is the grand chessboard. We're talking about Israel, who we're allies with, and that could bring something pretty crazy into the situation, not to mention Iran, who has other allies that are very large. So once again, it's a situation that could be a powder keg, and there's a lot of geopolitical risk going on. If you look at India, Pakistan, you look at Russia, China. I mean, we're having this crazy thing in Asia and Eurasia right now. So once again, who knows exactly how this all shakes out. I'm just kind of the way I look at geopolitics is I look at them, I like to understand it. Just because of me, I'm just a reader type, so I read through everything. I love to hear about it. But then at the end of the day, it's like, what's the price action doing? And I'm seeing a lot of commodities bottoming out. And so if they're bottoming out or making new breakouts, like I'm just going to continue to think like, hey, this might continue to escalate.
I always just as a thought experiment, I try to play devil's advocate in my own mind with these bearish headline situations. So, for example, when the trade war broke out, I started thinking to myself, well, what if China and the United States can come to terms on a deal that's more sustainable than the current deal, and then we enter just an environment that has far more certainty in terms of the global supply chain, global economics, right, and the interdependency of nations. Maybe we enter a place of much heightened certainty for these two mega, powers on the opposite end of the world, where things are better and the market actually likes that. And this ushers in some sort of new, like, global stage that's more conducive to rising prices for global equities, right? And with this one, I'm kind of thinking, what if, what seems like a Middle East destabilization event now actually turns into a stabilization event. And we have a Middle East that actually is much safer in the future because Iran has been weakened to the point where they're not really a threat to the nations around them, right? Like, I'm always trying to think, what is everybody totally missing? What could actually happen from this? I think if you look through some of these events far enough to the other end or to the end of them, a lot of times you can take away, oh, maybe this is a net positive for markets. Am I just being too much of an optimist with that kind of thought?
I don't think that's a bad way of looking at it, because if you go back to Iran's history, Mohammad Mossadegh, they had kind of a more free society at that point. And then we kind of went in there. We had an economic hitman basically go in there and kind of change that up, installed a very brutal dictator. And it's kind of been under a very similar regime all these years. So regime change might be a good thing for that area, but at the same time, it's like we can't exactly know from all the way over here. I'm just seeing what's being shown to me on the news and stuff like that, and what I can read. Boots on the ground there would be very interesting, but that's also very, very scary as well. So, but I do think it's more of a like, hey, like, look at the United States. There's something that is happening. We see this V bottom that happened after Liberation Day and all these things. And now money's kind of flowing back in the United States. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see that happening. We're kind of seeing like technology is really taking off once again. All these things are doing very well. Just in the last few weeks after this event kind of is starting to take shape, and then it really took off at that point. So I don't think it's a bad way to look at it in an optimistic way. I think the market is very dynamic, and it's interesting. A lot of people say markets hate uncertainty. Sometimes they like uncertainty. Sometimes it's hey, we need to get capital out of this area and get it to another area. And really what's always going to tell me how to look at that is, are we in a bull market or a bear market? If we're in a bull market and we're continuing to run higher, I'm going to always bet on the bull market continuing, even if there's uncertainty in the world. Sometimes the best trades, and Jerry Parker and I talked about this before, sometimes the best trades are when the fundamentals make zero sense and the technicals look phenomenal.
Yep.
That's like the ultimate holy grail trade. I mean, think about, you and I have talked about this a million times, but go back to 2023. 2023, technology is taking off, but at the same time, it was the end of the world. The banks were going to die. Everything bad was happening. And not to mention, even myself, I got a buy signal for the NASDAQ in January 2023. And I remember being like, right now, really? I need to buy the NASDAQ? And, I'm a good signal taker, so I'm going to take my signal and shut up. But at the same time, it's like that was the bottom. That was when it started to run. And the fundamentals made zero sense. So I'm still thinking it's a situation that, hey, the market's still in good shape. The market's still going up. Global markets look great. I'm not going to bet against any of it here.
So Jason helped, and the whole analyst team really worked together on this aerospace and defense deep dive. And just to what you just alluded to, same thing. We didn't do this deep dive because of the headlines last week or the bombs and the missiles going off, right? We did this report because this industry group, this group of stocks, is one of the strongest groups in the market, and it's been that way all year. It's been that way since last year. Aerospace defense stocks, it's been a leadership group really for this whole cycle, right? So we dive in when there's a leadership group that's really showing that kind of relative strength over those kinds of timeframes. So we dove in, we outlined a bunch of our favorite setups, And then as I was going through, Jason, I said, because you know me, I'm not the kind of person, to be completely honest. I put on a lot of the trades that we write about. I'm not the kind of person who's going to load up into Raytheon stock in my IRA. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not going to bet on these companies being as dominant 20 years from now as they are today. I think the way that we're going to fight wars is going to continue to change. I'd rather own the software and cybersecurity companies.
Yes,
However,
absolutely.
I'm flipping through these charts, man. And good old blue chip, Lockheed Martin, I get it. They make all the missiles, they make the war stuff. But this base is what's got me. I mean, this one is completely sat out the rally in aerospace and defense. This is like Apple not participating in a tech rally, right? This is Lockheed.
Yes.
You see this base, the VWAP's coming in. It's just so perfect. So I just added more calls. I like this one so much. I gave away basically a free options trade on it because look, it's nothing spicy. It's not too juicy. It's a very high price security. So we're going pretty close to the money, but just adding a little leverage here because this chart to me is just like with these headlines going on, right? Potential upside catalyst every day to pop this base higher. It's too good. And I wanted to share it with everybody. You like this chart?
Oh, I love it. I mean, to me, it's this way for trading. And I think this is a good lesson for everybody out there. Once again, when you're a new trader, you go, man, you missed the move. You should have bought all the way at 420. I can't believe you didn't do that. And really, it's no, you don't want to touch anything when it's just consolidating. That's going to just drive you crazy. You're going to get out of the trade before it even takes off. How you do it is you wait for it to get above these zones. When it gets above these zones, it takes off. It's the same thing Steve and I have buying the last few years. Like you get a huge base, and then you get a massive breakout. You know, gold miners look the same. All of these things that have been taking off to the upside like crazy, they look just like this. So I think just kind of the next one, look at that candle that's kind of taken off into it. That tells me there's a lot of momentum. Think about the dollar recently. Everybody was like, the dollar's going to stop at the bottom of the range. And I'm like, there's no way. It's so much momentum towards it. Same thing here. Huge momentum to the upside. I don't think that's stopping anywhere soon.
And I like the action just so far today. They knocked this thing down 10, 15 bucks coming in. And it's paring back those losses right now. You get a little red to green here coming out of this base, a little how you doing. I'll just like it so much more. So
yeah.
We'll be stalking that one today. Jason, any final thoughts, any closing thoughts, any words of wisdom for the people?
I do have two quick charts that I do want to hit on, which is 11 and 12. 11 and 12. So just 11 and 12.
Throw them up.
I didn't say new slide 11. New slide 11. There we go. Okay. So if you look at this chart, and once again, this is the same story with oil. Like oil is very similar to the 10-year yield. It moves very similar to the 10-year yield a lot of the time. So if you look at the correlations here, now everybody in the world asks me about this all the time, Steve, which is, what about the dollar and yields? What about the dollar and oil? And I always say the same thing. It changes over time. There's no way to know exactly what it's going to do. And so
that's great.
Yes.
What a swing from a consistently negative, statistical correlation to now just like it's pinged to almost 1 for several years. Just absolutely flip the script on investors. Pay attention out here.
And people go, that's the correlation is high. It's going to stay the same. Or people will say, hey, we're the leading producer in oil now. That's the reason. And they'll have a million reasons. And I'm like, look, we weren't the biggest producer in oil back in the early 2000s when this happened. Yeah. We're not always the biggest producer. It's just sometimes correlation shifts and change. And you know that just as well as anybody else, Steve. When you're looking at intermarket analysis, you don't want to get too stuck in the correlations because they can shift over time. And when they do, it gets crazy. Look at the copper to gold ratio. That thing's been out of whack for years. I mean, it's just the same thing here. So just letting you guys know, I'm still in the boat where I do not think the dollar and oil need to move together for oil to move higher. I actually think the opposite. I think the dollar breaking down is actually very positive for oil and emerging markets and so on. I think that'll continue. And then I just have the chart 12.
So dollar down no longer means oil down, correct?
Yes. I don't think so. I think that the correlation will continue to shift. You just don't want to get stuck in it. Too many people are getting stuck in it. And then silver to gold here. Just wanted to bring this ratio with the vertical lines. I brought them for you today. I was actually going to put arrows on it, but I was like, Steve's going to be on with me. I'm putting the vertical lines.
This is just like such a trademark Jason Purrs chart. I mean, he's got the silver versus the gold. He's even color coded the text. The gold is gold. I mean, this is just so good. The vertical lines are telling me where I should look. Explain why. What did you do here?
So when I'm looking at these things, and the reason why I do the vertical lines, it just makes it easier for me to look at it very simply and go, hey, here's a part where the silver to gold ratio starts to tick up. What happens next? And I can look below at silver and see every single time. And it's usually a small run. Ramp City. Yep. And it's not a situation where it ends very quickly. It's usually something that lasts for a little while. And sometimes it can be a big move. Sometimes it can be a huge move. I think we're at the point of a huge move because I don't see much. Like, where's the resistance? Like, people keep pointing to that peak at $50, and it's like, there's not a ton of volume up there. Like, we all know there's not a ton of volume up there. So
I just want to point out, Jason, this is a monthly line chart, so don't let it deceive your eyes here. All of these blue vertical lines where they're marked there, those mark the beginnings of really long-term uplifts, right? This is a monthly line chart, so it might not look that way, but these were long-term trends.
Yes, these are long-term trends, and they will take some time, and you're going to get shaken around a little bit. Don't get too discouraged. I definitely think this thing's got some legs. I think it can move up. I think we could at least hit 50 here. I don't think that's that crazy to say. By the end of the year, we could hit 50. No reason to think anything different. And then once we get over 50, I don't know where we end up here. Really, if you look historically at the silver to gold ratio, we should be around 120 silver at some point pretty soon. Now, once again, that's just looking at it. That's not exactly what I think. Right now, I'm thinking let's try to hit 50, see where we go from there. But if you look at the value compared to gold, that's where I'm at. I definitely think we could hit that in a year. Possibly 2 years, but yeah, and silver's finally outperforming. It looks great. So yeah, I love it. I think the commodities are really set up to move.
This is a great chart. I think this is such an important intermarket consideration right now because you could easily look at a chart of gold and say, man, this thing is long in the tooth, right? Gold is extended here. Hasn't the easy money been made? You look at a chart of silver and gold, it is screaming, no, this is just starting, right? So I think it's such important context. Jason, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for joining us. You want to hang out for a quick recess?
Yeah, let's do it. I brought something.
Run that bumper. Let's go, Iz. I'll go quick, and then I'll let you run. I just want to say yesterday it was all golf all weekend for me. Big golf weekend, watching golf, playing golf. A lot of fun. Rose came and played with me and some of my golf buddies. Probably the last round I'll play with my golf friends. So it was sad to go. We had some fun out there. I will say, came home. What you do after a long round of golf is you lay on the couch, you watch golf, and you let it put you into just the most beautiful nap. And then you can nap for as long as you want, really, right? Just wake up for dinner. So that's really my routine on Sunday afternoon. So I'm laying on the couch. I'm watching the U.S. Open. It's raining, right? So it's making me tired. And then they rain delay it, and they put on highlights of past U.S. Opens. And they put on the Tiger, I think it was the Tiger 96 Open. And I just got to say, golf is great right now. We have a lot of young and exciting players, but we don't have a Tiger. I enjoyed watching the throwback highlights from 20 years ago far more than the actual U.S. Open this year. I'll also say, Oakmont, it was too much. This whole situation about making the golf courses way too challenging. Like, these poor golfers, man. It's you're ruining the game. It's not fun. Let them play golf. Let them get out of the rough. It's really ridiculous. Get one step too far. I would rather watch the U.S. Open from 20 years ago.
No, we don't have a Tiger.
There's no Tiger, man. He was one of those truly special, once in a generation type athletes. Just watching him golf, boy, do I miss it. Boy, do I miss it. Really good stuff.
Nice. So yeah, for me, it's a chill weekend. I do volunteer work on Sundays, hang out with the girl most of the weekend. But I did bring something in for Father's Day. It's here on slide 14.
Oh. Happy Father's Day. Happy delayed Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Got a lot of fathers internally. Happy Father's Day, fathers. Jason Purrs. Is this a young Jason? Holy cow, look at you, bro.
1994, super salty. So my father would always tell me this story. So he took me to go see, a dinosaur exhibit. And I was like, okay, I don't really like, I was like, I really don't like dinosaurs. And he always tells me about this. And I went there. Yes.
I could tell you don't like dinosaurs. I think everybody could tell.
Yes. And I went there and I was so pissed off. And I was like, I don't even want to be here. This isn't real. Like, I've never seen a dinosaur. And I was so upset about it, and he tells me this story all the time. It's like one of those embarrassing kid stories where, like, as an adult, I'm like, why did I do that? But as a kid, I was super upset about being there. But my father took me, and it was cool. Luckily my dad took me to do some cool stuff from time to time. So, happy Father's Day to him and all the other fathers out there. But it was very salty. So I found this picture. I thought it was hilarious. I didn't know if I wanted to really show it on the morning show, but I was like, I'm on with Steve today. When JC was like, I'm getting off, I was like, I'm on with Steve. I'll share it.
So it's like, happy Father's Day, Dad. Sorry for being a cranky bitch when we looked at the dinosaurs 20 years ago.
Basically.
It's a great picture, dude.
30 years ago now, sadly.
No, come on. Nobody needs to know. Oh, this is good, Jason.
Oh, that was fun. Well, good hanging out with you, Steve, man. You have a good one. We'll talk soon, I'm sure. And, I'll see everybody on the Gold Rush today at 12:30 with Sam, and we'll keep this going.
Don't miss it. Gold Rush at 12:30. I think we got Chart Request live at 1 o'clock out here. And then we'll be back. Same time, same place tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern time for the next morning show. Happy Monday, everybody. Thanks, Jason.
Hey, thank you. See you later, Steve.
I can't take no